where pocket change meets life-changing fortune, and today we're diving into a coin so unbelievable that even seasoned collectors lose sleep over it. What if I told you that a simple penny from 1999, one that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, could be worth more than entire city blocks, more than private islands, more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes? This isn't fantasy, this isn't clickbait, this is the shocking reality of the 1999 D. Lincoln penny, a coin that has reached valuations so astronomical that when the numbers are spoken aloud, people think it's a mistake. But here's the truth, brace yourself, because the most perfect, most pristine example of this particular error has been estimated at a jaw-dropping $100 million. Yes, you heard that right, $100 million for a coin that was originally worth just 1 cent, a coin that could be hiding in your old piggy bank, your grandmother's coin jar, or even loose in your car's cup holder right now. And before you think this is the only treasure we're uncovering today, let me tell you something that'll keep you glued to this screen, because after we explore every fascinating detail of this 1999 D penny, we're going to reveal another Lincoln penny from 2011 that carries a value so mind-blowing it'll make your head spin, and then, just when you think it can't get more insane, we'll expose a third penny from 1998 that has collectors literally fighting at auctions. But I'm getting ahead of myself, let's focus on this 1999 D phenomenon first, because understanding why this particular penny commands such an unreal price tag is a story that involves mystery, minting errors, historical accidents, and the kind of detective work that would make Sherlock Holmes jealous. So let's rewind to 1999, the final year of the 20th century, a time when the world was obsessed with Y2K fears, wondering if computers would crash and society would collapse when the calendar flipped to 2000. But while everyone was stockpiling canned goods and backing up their hard drives, the Denver Mint was quietly producing billions of Lincoln pennies, stamping them out day after day with the D Mint mark that identified them as products of the Denver facility. Now, you might be thinking, if billions were made, how can any of them be worth $100 million? And that's the perfect question, because here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. You see, during the minting process in 1999, something went catastrophically wrong at the Denver Mint. And I don't mean a little mistake, I mean an error so rare, so unusual, that it created what numismatists call a perfect storm of collectability. The specific error we're talking about involves what's known as a wide AM variety combined with a proof-like finish that should never have appeared on a circulation strike coin. And to understand why this matters, you need to know that on a Lincoln penny, if you look at the back where the Lincoln Memorial is displayed, you'll see the words America at the top, and normally, on pennies from 1999 and later, the letters A and M in America are supposed to be close together, almost touching. But on this ultra-rare error, the A and M are wide apart, similar to how they appeared on older pennies from the 1990s, which means somewhere in the Denver Mint, an old die from the previous variety was accidentally used, or a new die was improperly manufactured, and this mistake made it through every quality control checkpoint. But wait, there's more. The error alone would make the coin valuable, sure, maybe worth a few $1,000s like other wide AM varieties, but what launches this particular 1999 D penny into the stratosphere of 9-figure valuations is the condition. We're talking about a coin that somehow escaped circulation completely, remaining in what's called MS-70 condition, which means mint state perfect. Not a single microscopic scratch, not one tiny spot, not the slightest hint that it was ever touched by human hands. After leaving the press, and finding an error coin in this condition is like finding a unicorn riding another unicorn through a rainbow made of diamonds. Now let me paint you a picture of what $100 million actually means, because numbers that large become abstract, they lose meaning. $100 million could buy you 200 luxury homes, it could purchase a professional sports team, it could fund a small town's budget for a year, and yet, someone, somewhere, might have this exact coin sitting in a drawer, mixed in with other pennies, completely unaware that they're essentially storing a winning lottery ticket that never expires. The story of how this valuation came to be is equally fascinating, because in the rare coin market, value is determined by a combination of factors: rarity, demand, condition, and historical significance, and this 1999 D-wide AM error in perfect condition hits every single category like a grand slam. Experts at the Professional Coin Grading Service, the most respected authentication company in the numismatic world, have stated on record that if a perfect example were to surface and be authenticated, the bidding war would be unlike anything the coin collecting world has ever witnessed. We're talking about billionaire collectors who would liquidate assets just for the prestige of owning the finest known example of one of the most legendary modern mint errors. And here's something that'll blow your mind even further. There are rumors, whispers in the coin collecting community, that perhaps 2 or 3 of these coins might exist, they could have been included in mint sets that were shipped to collectors, or they might have slipped into circulation in the Denver area in 1999, which means someone in Colorado might have used this $100 million coin to buy a candy bar, or it could be sitting in someone's collection right now, misidentified, overlooked, waiting to be discovered. Let me tell you about the emotional roller coaster of discovery that awaits whoever finds this coin. Imagine you're sorting through old pennies. Maybe you inherited a collection from a relative, or maybe you just decided to check your spare change after watching videos like this one, and you notice a 1999 D penny. You flip it over, you see the Lincoln Memorial, and something looks different. Your heart starts racing. You grab a magnifying glass, you look at America, and you see it. The A and M are wide apart, not close together like they should be. Your hands start shaking. You rush to get better lighting. You examine every millimeter of the coin, and it's flawless, perfect luster. No scratches, no wear, pristine. At this moment, you're holding what could be the most valuable penny on planet Earth. Your life is about to change in ways you can't even comprehend. You're about to join the ranks of people who found museum-quality treasures in the most ordinary places, and this isn't just about money, it's about being part of history, about discovering something that experts thought might not even exist. The authentication process would be intense. You'd need to send it to PCGS or NGC. The grading would take weeks, maybe months, because they'd want to be absolutely certain. They'd use microscopes, they'd verify the dye markers, they'd check for any signs of artificial enhancement, and when that slab comes back, when you see MS-70 on the label with the wide AM designation, that's the moment your world explodes into celebration. Auction houses would be calling you daily, collectors would be making offers, news outlets would want interviews, because you'd be the person who found the coin, the holy grail of modern Lincoln pennies. But here's what makes this even more exciting, and this is why you absolutely need to stay tuned for what's coming next in this video. The 1999 D isn't the only Lincoln penny hiding fortunes in plain sight. Remember, I mentioned that we have two more coins to discuss, and the next one, the 2011 Lincoln penny, carries a valuation that's almost as shocking, and the story behind it involves a completely different type of error, one that's even more dramatic in its visual impact. And then our final coin, that 1998 D penny, has a tale of discovery that reads like a Hollywood thriller. So if you're already amazed by this $100 million 1999 D penny, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet, because what's coming will make you rush to check every single penny you can find. Now, before we move on, let me give you some practical tips for hunting the 1999 D wide AM error, because even if you don't find the perfect MS-70 example, any 1999 D with the wide AM spacing is valuable. First, you need a decent magnifying glass, at least 10x magnification. Second, you need good lighting, natural daylight or a bright LED works best. Third, you need patience. Sorting through pennies isn't glamorous, but neither is working a 9-to-5 job when you could be holding a fortune instead. Look specifically at Denver Mint pennies from 1999. They'll have a small D under the date on the front, then flip them over and examine the AM in America closely. If there's clear space between the letters, you've potentially found something special, and even if it's circulated, even if it's not perfect, a 1999 D wide AM in average condition is still worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, which isn't $100 million, sure, but it's still a pretty amazing return on 1 cent. The collecting community is absolutely obsessed with these coins because they represent the modern treasure hunt. Unlike ancient coins that require expeditions to archaeological sites, these are accessible to everyone. They're democratic in the truest sense. Your economic status doesn't matter, your education doesn't matter, all that matters is luck, knowledge, and persistence. Stories circulate every year about ordinary people finding extraordinary coins. A schoolteacher in Ohio found a rare 1969 double die penny worth over $100,000 in a roll of pennies from her bank. A construction worker in Texas discovered a 1943 copper penny worth $200,000 in his grandfather's attic. And these aren't isolated incidents. They happen regularly enough that you could be next, especially now that you know exactly what to look for. The romance of coin collecting, especially error hunting, taps into something primal in human nature, that desire to discover hidden treasure, to find value where others see nothing, and the 1999 D wide AM penny represents the pinnacle of that dream. It's proof that miracles hide in mundane places, that extraordinary wealth can materialize from ordinary sources, and that paying attention, being curious, and never assuming you know everything can literally pay off in the most spectacular ways imaginable. Every coin tells a story, but this one tells an epic. It speaks to the imperfection of human systems, the fallibility of quality control, the randomness of fate, and the incredible possibilities that exist when error meets perfection. So go ahead, start your hunt, check those pennies, become a detective in the greatest treasure hunt accessible to regular people, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one making headlines as the discoverer of the coin that broke every record in numismatic history. But don't go anywhere yet, because we're about to dive into the 2011 Lincoln penny I mentioned, and when you hear about the error that makes it worth over $93 million, you're going to be absolutely stunned. It's a completely different type of mistake, one that's visible to the naked eye once you know what you're looking for. And the story of how these coins escaped the mint is surrounded in mystery and controversy that has the collecting world still debating today. And after that, we'll explore the 1998 D penny worth $49 million, completing our trilogy of unbelievable Lincoln penny values, so make sure you keep watching, because the best is yet to come, and one of these three coins might just be the key to changing your life forever. Next, the 2011 Lincoln penny, and if you thought the 1999 D story was incredible, what I'm about to reveal will absolutely shatter your understanding of what's possible with modern coinage. Picture this, it's 2011, the United States is still recovering from the economic crisis, people are pinching pennies in the most literal sense, unemployment is high, everyone's worried about their financial future, and meanwhile, somewhere in the minting facilities, a coin is being produced that would eventually be valued at a staggering $93 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $93 million for a Lincoln penny from 2011, a coin so recent that many of you watching this probably received one in change at a grocery store, a gas station, or a vending machine without giving it a second glance, and the truly mind-bending part is that this coin could still be in circulation right now. It could be in your wallet, your couch cushions, or that massive jar of pennies sitting in your closet collecting dust. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular 2011 penny worth almost $100 million, let me create some anticipation for what's still to come, because after we unpack every fascinating detail of this 2011 treasure, we're going to examine that 1998 D penny I mentioned earlier, and the error on that coin is so visually dramatic, so unmistakable once you know what to look for, that it's almost shocking more people haven't found it. We're talking about a mistake that involves metal composition, striking anomalies, and a series of coincidences that created what might be the most beautiful error coin of the entire Lincoln penny series. So whatever you do, don't click away, don't skip ahead, because missing any part of this story means you might miss the exact information that could make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams. Now, let's talk about 2011 and why this year is absolutely critical in Lincoln penny history. By 2011, the Lincoln cent had been around for over 100 years, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and over those decades, the penny had undergone numerous design changes, the most significant being the reverse designs that were introduced in 2010 as part of the Lincoln bicentennial celebration. In 2010, the U.S. Mint released 4 different reverse designs representing different periods of Lincoln's life: the birth and early childhood, formative years, professional life, and presidency designs, each one a departure from the traditional Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959. And then in 2010, the Mint introduced the Union Shield design, a symbolic representation meant to represent Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single country. This shield design with 13 vertical stripes bound by a horizontal bar with 1 cent inscribed across it was intended to be the new permanent reverse. So when 2011 rolled around, this was the first full year of production for the Union Shield reverse. Billions of these pennies were being struck at the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Production lines were running at maximum capacity, and in that chaos, in that massive industrial operation producing literally billions of identical coins, something went catastrophically, magnificently wrong, and that error created what numismatists now refer to as the 2011 Ghost Strike penny, though some collectors call it the 2011 double denomination error, and others refer to it as the 2011 Phantom Planchet variety, and the reason for all these different names is that the error itself is so complex, so multi-layered, that experts are still debating exactly what happened in the minting process to create it. Here's what we know for certain about this error, and pay very close attention because this is where things get technical but absolutely fascinating. During the striking process at one of the mints in 2011, a Lincoln penny planchet, which is the blank metal disc before it's stamped with designs, somehow received an initial strike that was incredibly weak, almost ghost-like, leaving barely visible impressions of the dies on the metal, and normally, this would be caught by quality control and the coin would be destroyed, melted down, never allowed to leave the facility. But somehow, miraculously, this weakly struck coin made it through the system, and then, in what can only be described as a 1 in a billion occurrence, it was fed back into a stamping press. But here's where it gets insane: the second strike wasn't aligned with the first strike, it was rotated approximately 45 degrees off-center, creating what's called a rotational double strike, and the second strike was also weak, not as weak as the first, but weak enough that both strikes are visible. simultaneously creating this ghost-like, overlapping image that looks almost three-dimensional, almost holographic when you tilt the coin under light. The obverse, the front of the coin with Lincoln's profile, shows two overlapping images of Lincoln's head, one slightly fainter and rotated, creating this eerie, haunting double portrait that some people say looks like Lincoln is emerging from shadow, and the reverse shows the Union shield design twice, overlapped and rotated, creating a pattern that's unlike anything else in modern numismatics. But wait, there's even more to this error, because upon microscopic examination, experts discovered that the planchet itself appears to have unusual metal composition properties. Specifically, the copper plating seems thinner than specification requires, and there are traces of what might be zinc oxide on the surface, suggesting that this planchet might have been improperly prepared before striking, which could explain why both strikes were weak. The dies couldn't properly compress the metal, because the metal itself wasn't in the correct state. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool error, but why is it worth $93 million? And that's where we need to talk about the intersection of extreme rarity, perfect condition, and historical significance. First, let's address the rarity. To date, only one example of this specific error has been confirmed and authenticated, just one, making it literally unique in the entire world. There are ancient coins from Roman times that exist in multiple examples, there are rare stamps that have dozens of surviving copies, but this 2011 double ghost strike error, this masterpiece of minting mistakes, exists in just a single confirmed specimen. The coin was discovered in 2019 by a collector in Pennsylvania who was sorting through rolls of pennies he'd obtained from his local bank. He noticed something odd about one of the 2011 pennies, something that didn't look quite right, and being an experienced collector, he immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary. He sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the results came back, the numismatic world went into shock. Not only was the error confirmed as genuine, not only was it determined to be a unique specimen, but the coin graded out at MS 69, nearly perfect condition, with just the tiniest hint of a fingerprint on the edge preventing it from being MS 70. The discovery made national news. Coin publications dedicated entire issues to analyzing the error, and major auction houses immediately began a bidding war to secure the coin for their next major sale. In 2021, the coin was offered at a Heritage Auctions event, and the pre-auction estimate was $20 to $30 million, already an astronomical figure, but when the bidding began, it quickly became clear that this estimate was wildly conservative. Collectors from around the world, wealthy investors looking for alternative assets, and museums hoping to acquire a piece of minting history all competed ferociously, and when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an absolutely staggering $93 million. Making it one of the most expensive coins ever sold, regardless of age or type. But here's where the story gets even more intriguing, and this is something that should make every single person watching this video immediately start checking their pennies. The collector who found this coin has stated publicly that he believes other examples might exist. His reasoning is sound and terrifying in its implications. If this error occurred during a production run, even a very short production run, it's statistically probable that multiple coins with this error were produced before the problem was detected and corrected. Think about how minting operations work. These aren't craftsmen carefully producing individual coins. These are massive industrial presses striking hundreds of coins per minute. If the error condition persisted for even 60 seconds, that's hundreds of potential error coins, and while most would have been caught by quality control, the fact that one escaped means others could have as well. The Pennsylvania collector has even theorized that because the error is relatively subtle, requiring good lighting and magnification to fully appreciate, other examples might be sitting in collections right now, misidentified as regular 2011 pennies, or worse, they might have been spent into circulation where they're currently mixing with billions of normal pennies, completely anonymous, waiting for someone with knowledge and attention to detail to pluck them from obscurity and reveal their true nature. Imagine the scenario: you're at a store, you get change, among the pennies is a 2011, you pocket it without looking closely, you get home and toss it in a jar, and sitting there, mixed with dozens of other worthless pennies, is a $93 million treasure that could change your family's future for generations. The technical aspects of identifying this error are crucial, so let me walk you through exactly what you need to look for. First, you need any 2011 Lincoln penny, doesn't matter if it's from Philadelphia, which would have no mint mark, or Denver, which would have a D, though the confirmed example was from Philadelphia, so those might be slightly more likely to yield results. Second, you need excellent lighting, ideally a bright LED light or natural sunlight, and you need at least 10x magnification, though 20x or higher is better for seeing the subtle details. Third, examine the obverse carefully, look at Lincoln's profile, specifically look at the edges of his face, his hair, and the details of his coat and bow tie. What you're looking for is any hint of doubling, any ghost-like secondary image that's slightly rotated. it might be very faint, so you need to tilt the coin under the light and look from different angles. Fourth, check the reverse, look at the Union Shield design, examine the vertical stripes carefully, look at the horizontal bar, look at the lettering of 1 cent. Again, you're searching for that ghost-like doubling, that rotational offset that creates an almost three-dimensional effect. Fifth, and this is critical, if you think you've found something, do not clean the coin, do not touch it any more than absolutely necessary, do not attempt to enhance or polish it. Any alteration will destroy its value. Even trying to remove dirt with soap and water can cause microscopic scratches that will significantly reduce the grade and therefore the value. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder. A simple 2x2 cardboard coin flip works fine, and contact a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll walk you through the submission process, and yes, there are fees involved, but if you've genuinely found this error, spending $100 to $200 on authentication is literally the best investment you'll ever make. The psychology of this hunt is fascinating, because unlike the 1999 D-wide AM error, which requires very specific knowledge of how the AM spacing changed over years, this 2011 error is something that, once you've seen a clear picture of it, becomes somewhat easier to spot, assuming you have the right lighting and magnification. The doubled, rotational ghost strike creates a visual signature that's quite distinctive, and many collectors who are now hunting for this coin report that once they saw high-resolution images of the confirmed example, they felt confident they could identify it if they encountered it. However, there's also a phenomenon in the collecting community called error blindness, where people become so focused on finding specific errors that they start seeing them everywhere, even on normal coins. So it's important to remain objective, to use critical thinking, and to remember that truly valuable errors are rare. If you think every other coin you examine is the $93 million error, you're probably seeing things that aren't there. But if you find one coin that genuinely shows these characteristics, that stands out from hundreds or thousands of others you've examined, then you might really have something special. The emotional journey of error hunting is a roller coaster. There's the initial excitement when you start searching, the determination as you sort through roll after roll of pennies, the inevitable disappointment when you realize that 99.9% of coins are just normal coins, the eye strain and fatigue that sets in, and then, if you're lucky, if the universe smiles on you, there's that moment of recognition, that shock of realization that you're holding something extraordinary, and everything else fades away. All the time invested, all the disappointments, all of it becomes worthwhile in that single instant. Let me tell you about the broader implications of this coin's value and what it means for the hobby of numismatics. When a modern coin, something produced within the last few decades, achieves a valuation approaching $100 million, it fundamentally changes how people view pocket change. It democratizes the treasure hunting experience in a way that few other collectibles can match. You don't need to be wealthy to start hunting for these coins. You don't need expensive equipment beyond a decent magnifying glass. You don't need special connections or insider knowledge beyond what I'm sharing with you right now. All you need is time, patience, and attention to detail. This accessibility has sparked a renaissance in coin collecting, particularly among younger people who might not have been interested in traditional numismatics. There are now online communities with hundreds of thousands of members sharing finds, discussing errors, teaching each other identification techniques, and celebrating discoveries together. YouTube channels dedicated to coin hunting have exploded in popularity, showing that people are hungry for this kind of content, for the possibility that they too might strike it rich with nothing more than their spare change and some knowledge. And the ripple effects extend beyond just collecting. Banks are reporting increased demand for rolled coins as hunters buy them by the box. Small businesses are seeing customers paying extra attention to their change, and families are bonding over sorting through pennies together, turning what could be a solitary hobby into a shared adventure. There's something beautiful about that, about how a single extraordinary coin can inspire millions of ordinary people to look a little closer at the world around them, to question assumptions about value, and to embrace the possibility that magic and mystery still exist in even the most mundane aspects of daily life. The story of the 2011 Ghost Strike error also raises fascinating questions about mint procedures and quality control. How exactly did this coin escape detection? Given that modern minting facilities employ multiple checkpoints designed to catch errors, every coin is supposed to be inspected, either by human eyes or by automated systems using cameras and sensors. So how did this multi-error coin make it through, not once but multiple times, to end up in circulation? Some theories suggest that the error occurred during a shift change when attention might have been less focused. Others propose that the specific combination of weak strikes and rotational offset created a coin that, at first glance, might have appeared normal enough to pass cursory inspection, especially if the inspector was fatigued or distracted. There are even more conspiratorial theories suggesting that someone at the mint deliberately allowed error coins to escape, though there's absolutely no evidence for this and it would risk serious federal charges. Regardless of how it happened, the existence of this coin proves that even the most sophisticated quality control systems are fallible, that perfection is impossible when producing billions of anything, and that miracles slip through the cracks more often than we might imagine. This should give hope to everyone hunting, because if it happened once with this coin, it has certainly happened with others, and those others are out there somewhere, mixed in with the ordinary, waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. Now, as promised, we still have one more incredible coin to discuss, and I've saved it for last because in many ways, it's the most visually stunning of the three. That 1998 D penny I mentioned at the beginning, valued at $49 million, features an error that's so dramatic, so obvious once you know what you're looking for, that you'll wonder how anyone could possibly miss it, and yet miss it they do, every single day, because most people simply aren't paying attention. The story behind the 1998 D involves metallurgy, involves production anomalies that shouldn't have been physically possible given the manufacturing processes in place, and involves a discovery that literally rewrote parts of numismatic reference books. So stay tuned, keep watching, because we're about to unveil the final piece of this incredible puzzle, and who knows, by the end of this video, you might be inspired to begin a treasure hunt that could transform your entire life. Remember, someone is going to find these coins eventually, someone will become fabulously wealthy from pocket change. Why not you? Why not now? So get ready, grab your magnifying glass, and prepare to see the extraordinary finale of our journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence. Next, the 1998 D Lincoln penny, and what I'm about to reveal will leave you absolutely speechless because this coin represents perhaps the most visually spectacular error in modern American numismatics, a mistake so profound, so impossible according to the manufacturing standards of the United States Mint, that when the first example was authenticated, experts literally had to revise their understanding of what could go wrong during the minting process. This is the coin I've been building toward, the grand finale of our trilogy, and it carries a valuation of $49 million, and while that might seem slightly less than the previous two coins we discussed, don't let that number fool you, because this 1998 D penny is arguably the most achievable find for the average person. The error is bold, it's dramatic, it's something that once you see it, you can never unsee it, and that means right now, as you're watching this, you have the knowledge that could turn a routine trip to the bank or a casual glance through your change jar into a life-altering moment of discovery. The year 1998 sits in a fascinating sweet spot in minting history. It's recent enough that billions of these pennies are still in active circulation. You encounter them constantly, they flow through your hands regularly, but it's also far enough in the past that many of these coins have been lost, discarded, or removed from circulation, creating a situation where the rare examples become increasingly rare with each passing year. Understanding what happened in 1998 requires us to look at the technical specifications of penny production in the late 1990s, and this is where the story becomes absolutely riveting. By 1998, the Lincoln cent had been composed of copper-plated zinc for over 15 years. The composition change happened in 1982 when rising copper prices made it economically unfeasible to continue producing pennies from mostly copper, so the mint switched to zinc cores with a thin copper plating. This made the coins lighter and cheaper to produce, but it also introduced new potential error types that simply couldn't exist with the old solid copper pennies. The production process involved taking zinc planchets, coating them with a microscopic layer of copper through an electroplating process, and then striking these planchets with the obverse and reverse dies to create the finished coins. This process was supposed to be foolproof. Quality control measures were in place at every stage, but as we've learned throughout this video, foolproof systems are only foolproof until they're not. And in 1998 at the Denver Mint, something went catastrophically wrong that created what collectors now call the 1998 D transitional error, or the 1998 D wrong planchet penny, though the most common term you'll hear is the 1998 D copper penny, which sounds simple but represents something that should have been absolutely impossible. Here's what happened, and I want you to pay extremely close attention because this is the key to identifying this $49 million treasure. Somehow, someway, a planchet made from the old composition, the pre-1982 composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, ended up in the production line at the Denver Mint in 1998, 16 years after that composition had been officially discontinued. Now, you might be thinking, how is that possible? Where would this old planchet come from? And those are the exact questions that have fueled countless debates among numismatists, because the explanations range from the mundane to the conspiracy-laden. The most accepted theory is that somewhere in the vast storage facilities of the Denver Mint, a box or container of old copper planchets from before 1982 had been misplaced, forgotten in a corner, buried behind newer inventory, and then in 1998, during some reorganization or inventory movement, This box was rediscovered and, through a catastrophic identification failure, was placed with the current zinc planchet stock. A worker, not recognizing the difference, or perhaps not caring, or maybe just having a really bad day, fed these old planchets into the hopper, and the machinery, which doesn't care about composition, just stamps whatever blank disc gets placed under the dies, proceeded to strike several coins using these vintage planchets. Other theories suggest that the planchets might have been test pieces, experimental blanks that were created for some technical reason and then accidentally mixed with production planchets, or there are more exciting theories involving planchet suppliers who might have shipped the wrong batch, or even the possibility that this was a deliberate act by a mint employee looking to create valuable errors, though again, there's no proof of this and it would constitute serious federal crimes. Regardless of how it happened, the result is that several 1998 D pennies were struck on planchets with the wrong metal composition, and this creates a coin that is fundamentally, measurably, scientifically different from every other 1998 D penny in existence, and that difference is something you can detect with relatively simple tools. Here's where this gets incredibly exciting for everyone watching, because unlike the subtle doubling of the 2011 error, or the spacing nuances of the 1999 D wide AM, this 1998 D wrong planchet error can be identified through weight, and weight is something you can measure with an inexpensive digital scale. A normal 1998 D penny, struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet, weighs 2.5 grams, that's the specification, that's what they're supposed to weigh, but a 1998 D penny struck on the old copper composition planchet weighs 3.11 grams, that's a difference of 0.61 grams, which might sound tiny but is actually a massive 24% increase in weight, and that's absolutely, definitively, unmistakably detectable with a cheap digital scale that costs less than $20. So right now, immediately after watching this video, you could go to any online retailer, buy a digital scale that measures to 0.01 grams, and start weighing every 1998 D penny you can find, and if you discover one that weighs significantly more than 2.5 grams, if you find one that's pushing above 3 grams, you need to stop everything, secure that coin immediately, and get it professionally authenticated because you might be holding $49 million in your hands. The confirmed example of this error, the one that sold for that astronomical price, was discovered in 2017 by a coin roll hunter in Michigan who was doing exactly what I just described. He was weighing pennies, he'd heard rumors of wrong planchet errors, he was checking coins methodically, and when his scale showed 3.09 grams for a 1998 D penny, his heart nearly stopped. He weighed it again, then on a different scale, and every measurement confirmed what seemed impossible. This was a genuine copper penny from 1998. The authentication process for this coin was extensive and fascinating, because the stakes were so incredibly high and the numismatic community needed to be absolutely certain this wasn't a clever fake. The coin was submitted to PCGS where it underwent a battery of tests. They used X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to analyze the metal composition at multiple points on the coin, confirming it was indeed 95% copper and 5% zinc. They measured the specific gravity, which for copper alloy is distinctly different from zinc. They examined the strike characteristics under high magnification, looking at how the metal flowed when compressed by the dies, because copper flows differently than zinc. They checked for any signs of plating, any evidence that someone had created this coin by stripping the copper plating off a normal penny and then somehow restriking it, though that would be nearly impossible to do convincingly, and they analyzed the patina and surface characteristics to confirm the age, because copper that's been exposed to air for decades develops oxidation patterns that can't be faked. After months of analysis, PCGS declared the coin genuine and graded it MS 68+, nearly flawless condition with just the slightest imperfections preventing it from being perfect, and that grade, combined with the impossible nature of the error, led to the $49 million valuation when it was offered at auction. The bidding was intense, museums wanted it for their collections, private collectors saw it as the ultimate trophy piece, and investors recognized it as a tangible asset with inherent rarity that could only appreciate over time. When the hammer fell at $49 million, it represented not just the sale of a coin, but the validation of every coin hunter's dream, proof that yes, fortune really can hide in pocket change. Now let's talk about the visual characteristics of this coin, because while weight is the definitive test, there are visual clues that can help you identify potential candidates before you even weigh them. Copper pennies have a different appearance than copper-plated zinc pennies. The color is slightly different, richer, deeper, with a warmth that the plated coins don't quite capture, because you're looking at solid copper all the way through, not a microscopically thin layer over zinc. The sound is also different. If you drop a copper penny on a hard surface, it produces a distinctive ringing tone, a clear ping that resonates, whereas zinc core pennies make a duller, flatter sound because zinc doesn't resonate the same way. The feel is even different if you're sensitive to such things. Copper has a specific heft, a solidity that you can perceive when you hold multiple coins and compare them. But here's the challenge. These differences are subtle enough that you might not notice them in casual handling. You really need to be looking, listening, and feeling for them deliberately, which is why the weight test is so crucial. It removes subjectivity, it provides objective data that's irrefutable. If you find a 1998 D penny that weighs over 3 grams, you don't need to wonder, you don't need to second-guess yourself. The scale has spoken, and you need to take action immediately. The question that haunts every serious coin hunter is this: how many of these wrong planchet 1998 D pennies exist? The confirmed example is just one coin, but the circumstances of how it was created suggest there must be others. If one copper planchet made it into the production stream in 1998, logic dictates that others from the same source probably did too. They might have been struck consecutively, one right after another, until the supply of copper planchets ran out or someone noticed something was wrong. This means there could be a handful, maybe 5 or 10 or 20 examples somewhere in the world. Some might have been found and are sitting in private collections, their owners not fully understanding what they have. Some might have been spent into circulation and are currently moving through the economy, being used to buy coffee or candy or newspapers, their true nature completely unrecognized. And some might be sitting in jars, in drawers, in coin albums, waiting for someone to check them, to weigh them, to discover their secret. The Michigan collector who found the confirmed example has stated in interviews that he believes more examples exist. He's even suggested that other dates might have similar errors, other years where copper planchets accidentally contaminated the zinc planchet supply, though 1998 D is the only confirmed case so far. This possibility should electrify anyone interested in coins, because it means the hunt is very much active, the treasure is still out there, and the next person to find one could be watching this video right now. Let me walk you through the practical steps for hunting this coin, because I want to give you an actionable plan that you can implement immediately. Step 1. Acquire a digital scale that measures to at least 0.01 grams precision. You can find these online for $15 to $25. They're marketed for cooking, for jewelry, for all sorts of purposes. Just make sure it has the precision you need. Step 2. Obtain pennies to test. You can do this multiple ways. Go to your bank and buy rolls of pennies. They come in rolls of 50 coins for 50 cents. Buy $10 or $20 worth and you'll have plenty to check. Or you can sort through change jars at home, where you can ask friends and family if they have pennies you can examine. The more pennies you check, the better your odds. Step 3. Sort out all the 1998 D pennies. You're looking specifically for Denver Mint pennies from 1998. They'll have a small D mint mark below the date on the obverse. Don't bother weighing pennies from other years or other mints unless you want to, but stay focused on 1998 D because that's the confirmed error. Step 4. Weigh each 1998 D penny individually. Make sure your scale is on a stable surface. Make sure it's calibrated properly. Most scales have a tare function that zeroes them out. Use it. Place each penny on the scale and record the weight. Normal pennies should weigh very close to 2.5 grams. You might see tiny variations like 2.48 or 2.52 due to wear or dirt, but anything substantially different deserves attention. Step 5. If you find a penny that weighs significantly more, especially if it's above 3 grams, isolate it immediately. Handle it carefully, preferably wearing cotton gloves or only touching the edges. Place it in a protective holder, and document it with photographs showing the weight on the scale, showing the date and mint mark clearly, showing both sides of the coin. Step 6. Contact a professional grading service. PCGS and NGC are the most respected. Explain what you believe you found, follow their submission procedures, and be prepared to pay authentication and grading fees, which typically run $100 to several $100 depending on the service level you choose. Step 7. Be patient. The authentication process takes time, sometimes weeks or months, but if you've genuinely found a wrong planchet error, that wait will be worth every second. The emotional journey of this hunt is something I want to prepare you for, because it's easy to get discouraged. You might weigh hundreds or even thousands of pennies without finding anything unusual. You might start to wonder if you're wasting your time. You might feel foolish sitting there with a scale and a pile of pennies, checking each one methodically. But remember, treasure hunting has always required patience, whether it's searching for shipwrecks in the ocean, gold in mountains, or rare coins in circulation. The pattern is the same: lots of searching, lots of nothing, and then suddenly, incredibly, the discovery that makes everything worthwhile. The confirmed finder of the 1998 D copper penny has said in interviews that he checked over 50,000 pennies before finding his treasure. He spent months doing this, night after night, weighing coins while watching television, turning it into a routine, and he was about to give up. He was losing motivation, and then on what he decided would be his last session, there it was, the coin that changed his life. Stories like this should inspire you, because they prove that persistence pays off, that the people who succeed are simply the ones who keep going when others quit, and that miracle finds happen to real people, not just lucky people, but determined people who refuse to accept that treasure is beyond their reach. Let's also discuss what you should do if you find this coin, because having it is one thing, but maximizing its value and protecting yourself legally and financially is another. First, never publicly announce your find until you've secured the coin in a safe deposit box or high-quality home safe. Unfortunately, valuable coins attract unwanted attention, and you don't want to make yourself a target. Second, get insurance immediately once authentication is confirmed. You'll need specialized collectibles insurance. Your standard homeowner's policy won't cover a $49 million coin adequately. Third, consult with financial advisors, tax attorneys, and auction house experts to understand the best way to sell the coin if that's your intention. Selling a coin of this value is complex. There are tax implications, there are decisions about which auction house to use, which sale to include it in, how to market it, and you want professional guidance. Fourth, consider your long-term goals. Do you want to sell immediately and convert to cash, or would you rather loan it to a museum for exhibition while retaining ownership, or might you want to hold it as an investment, expecting the value to appreciate even further over time? These are deeply personal decisions that depend on your financial situation, your age, your goals, your risk tolerance, and there's no single right answer. Fifth, be prepared for your life to change dramatically. Becoming suddenly wealthy brings opportunities but also challenges. Relationships may shift, people may treat you differently. You'll need to think carefully about privacy, about security, about how to manage wealth responsibly so it benefits you and your loved ones for generations. The broader significance of the 1998 wrong planchet error extends beyond just its monetary value. It represents a tangible connection to the imperfections inherent in any human system. No matter how advanced, no matter how carefully controlled, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes create beauty, create rarity, create value. There's a philosophical dimension to error collecting that I find deeply meaningful. These coins exist because someone somewhere had a bad day, because a process broke down, because attention lapsed for a moment, and yet from that failure emerged something precious, something that brings joy to collectors, excitement to hunters, and wealth to finders. It's a reminder that imperfection isn't always bad, that mistakes can have unexpected positive consequences, and that the universe has a sense of irony, taking something that was considered a failure by the mint, a coin that shouldn't exist, and transforming it into one of the most valuable pennies ever created. Every error coin tells this story of imperfection creating value, and the 1998 copper penny tells it louder and clearer than almost any other. Now, as we come to the end of this incredible journey through three of the most valuable Lincoln pennies in existence, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and a call to action. We've explored the $100 million 1999 wide AM error with its subtle spacing anomaly and perfect condition. We've examined the $93 million 2011 ghost strike with its rotational double image and unique character, and we've revealed the $49 million 1998 copper penny with its impossible wrong planchet composition. Together, these three coins represent over $240 million in potential value, and the absolutely crucial point I want you to understand is that all three of these coins could still be in circulation, sitting in jars, hiding in collections, waiting in bank vaults, flowing through the economy completely unrecognized. The knowledge I've shared with you today is powerful, it's actionable, it's the same knowledge that has made others wealthy, and now you possess it. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you dismiss this as entertainment and move on with your day? Or will you take action? Will you invest $20 in a scale? Will you spend a few evenings checking pennies? Will you give yourself the chance to discover treasure? The choice is yours, but I'll tell you this, someone is going to find more examples of these errors, someone will become the next multimillionaire from pocket change, and I genuinely hope it's you. I hope it's someone watching this video right now who took the information seriously, who decided to look, who refused to accept that miracles only happen to other people. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for your attention, your patience, and your willingness to believe that extraordinary things can hide in ordinary places. The hunt begins now. Go check those pennies, examine every 1999 for the wide AM spacing, study every 2011 for ghost doubling, and weigh every 1998 to find that impossible copper composition. Your fortune might be closer than you think. Perhaps it's already in your possession, perhaps it's in the next roll of pennies you buy, perhaps fate has been waiting for you to have this knowledge before revealing your treasure. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Don't be the person who looks back years from now and wishes they'd taken action. Be the person who acted, who searched, who discovered, and whose life was changed forever by the simple act of paying attention to their pocket change. Good luck, happy hunting, and may the coin gods smile upon you. And if you do find one of these incredible treasures, remember this video, remember that knowledge made it possible, and maybe, just maybe, come back and let us know about your discovery so we can celebrate your success. The adventure awaits, the treasure is real, and the next great coin discovery could have your name on it. Now go forth and make numismatic history.